Hi there, it's Gabriele Nicolet from SpeechKids, where we teach little kids to talk and help parents understand their little kids. And today I am delighted to be talking to Sally Neuberger. Sally, thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Gabriele.
Sally is the head potty whisperer at Ready, Set, Go Potty. But Sally, I'm going to let you tell people sort of who you are and what you do.
Thank you. That's really great. And thanks for having me. So Sally Neuberger, licensed clinical social worker. So I sort of present myself as having two gigs. One of them is as a potty coach, which is what I am coming to you as today. And then the other part of my practice is as a clinician working with children and their families, generally kids between the ages of 7 and 13 in the Rockville community. And so I got into potty like 150 years ago when Montgomery County was funding programs to work with preschoolers and who were having some sort of a developmental blip, whether it was language or motor, although we know that those are all connected. I was working with one of those programs. And what we realized is that all these 4-year-olds were making great gains motorically and in terms of their language and cognitively, but they totally missed potty training. Mm-hmm. So our mission was to have our comprehensive team of speech and OT and PT and myself figure out a way to help these kiddos reroute to potty training when mentally and developmentally, they totally had skipped it and moved on to more exciting things. Potty training is not so exciting. And so they, and from that came this method that really worked. And over time, we moved it out of the neurodiverse community and I moved it into the neurotypical community. And from that came Ready, Set, Go Potty. So I have about 30 years of experience doing this with mostly it's essentially it is coaching parents and I do that both locally and all over the country and all over the world. Sort of the foundation is that if you wait until your kiddo is developmentally ready, this process can get done really quickly.
It's so interesting as you were talking, you know, I always say what's good for the goose is good for the gander, right? And what I mean when I say that is, you know, all of these things that we twist ourselves into knots with our neurodiverse kids work so easily and well with the neurotypical population and create a really positive cycle of results where we're not beating our heads against the wall with a child who is developmentally ready to learn.
So smart. And it's the whole idea almost of universal design, yes. Which is, you know, right. And like, it's like, so if it works, you know, you just sort of inoculate everybody with all alternatives and kids are really smart. They will pick up on what they need.
They're so smart. I was just literally was having that conversation with somebody earlier. Like, they're not dumb. They're going to get their needs met one way or another. So
that's right, for sure.
And the more we can take the battle out of it, the better. So you tell us a little bit about sort of the developmental readiness and how parents sometimes, how they can get it right and how they sometimes don't.
Such a great, lovely question. Thank you. So here's the deal. The literature assumes that what I call window 1, which happens sometime between age 2 and 2.5, when kids have enthusiasm for all things potty, I call that window 1. Mm-hmm. What happens in window 1, however, is kids are so excited about everything potty. They want to look in the potty. They want to go potty. They want to be successful with potty. They are geniuses. And then one day they wake up somewhere either 3 days or 3 weeks after that initial enthusiasm, and their mom says, "Are you ready to go potty?" And the answer is no. And the parent assumes that this is manipulative behavior and that this is willful and intentional. But in fact, I describe this as moving out of window 1 and integrating all of the things they have learned in that 3 days to 3 weeks, and being prepared to really address potty training right around the 3rd birthday. It could be close to 2:10 for girls because girls are smarter. No, that's not true, but girls are more socially curious and motorically ready than boys at that age. And the weekend after the 3rd birthday for boys. And if you let kids go through window 1 and then drop it, no more talk about potty, no more underwear, just back into pull-ups. That at 3, they will never tell you they are ready. But if they have the ability to stay dry for 2 to 4 hours, are able to pull their pants up and down, understand the potty process, went through window 1, and do not have any developmental motor lags, then in general, they will be ready for a 3-day potty weekend. And so I say to parents, well, you choose. You could start this at 2.5 and be miserable for 6 months and promise them a trip to Disney World and promise them a new car, and none of that matters because it doesn't matter. So all the things that we think we're going to reward kids with, charts and balloons and M&Ms. M&Ms. I like M&Ms.
Yeah. Fruit Loops. I got it.
That they don't matter. And because what happens with this particular task is that this is really about an internally driven task. This is one of those few tasks that really is internally driven. It doesn't matter what you would promise your kid at age 3. They know they need to get this done. So that's why all we give them is time, opportunity, practice, and cheerleading.
That is a really, really different approach. I mean, even I am sitting here listening to you say 3, and I'm someone who knows no 16-year-old who was developmentally capable of wearing underwear ever went out of the house without his underwear. Right? Our kids don't get to be of an age if they are developmentally, right, neurologically able. That doesn't happen. You don't even have 5-year-olds who are neurologically intact, right? Who don't use the potty, and yet
don't accomplish this task.
Right. 3 sounds really old. Like, what is it about 3?
Great
Why?
question.
What's going on?
So parents can really choose. You can choose to do this at 2 and have what I call have your kiddo be time trained. And the time trained is that you are time trained as a parent. And if your child has an accident, it's not their fault. It's your fault for not alerting. So, you can start that at 2, but then you can't get mad at your kid for not having a skill. And remember, we don't give kids a car key if they are not cognitively ready to do that. So the beauty of 3 is that they are motorically, sensory, cognitively, and socially ready. And so, we can choose. We can choose to start this early and, schlep through for a year.
Yeah.
Or you can just let them have this initial experience, let it go, revisit it again, get it done.
And that's so interesting. There are kids for whom this will not matter at all, right? There are kids whose parents want them out of diapers. They don't want to buy diapers. Right. They have a younger sibling for whatever reason. And if that's your reason, then that is I'm in the business of telling parents, right? If that's what feels right, then that's right. And so maybe you do spend the year, right? And maybe you have a child for whom that's fine. The parents that I tend to interface with are kids who are having speech and language issues, right?
Motor.
So automatically motor, suspected motor, if not anything else. And so this is a similar situation where, again, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. These kids might need that approach. They might require the weight and for all cars to be allowed.
Right.
And they also might require some other stuff.
So the other criteria, and this pushes the window that made your eyes go wide even further, that motorically, if kids have any kind of a sensory blip or a motor blip, they're not even ready at 3. And that's just such a source of frustration for parents, and I'm really sympathetic to it.
Mhm.
But, my sort of 3-day gig allows on the morning of day one for parents to determine if their kiddo is ready or not. And if they're not ready, you know that on the morning of day one, and you decide to pause out.
Mhm.
The other piece that interferes here is constipation. And if a kiddo is chronically constipated prior to beginning potty training, that often is a criteria for that I say, so pause, let's get him having perfect poops. And by the way, there's this awesome tool called the Bristol Stool
Yeah.
Scale, where they actually describe like the best kind of poops and like what's good and what's not. And like should it be a log? Should it be a dump? Like what should it be?
And part of why I love my job is I get to talk to people.
Oh, it's so like fun. And especially like dads who I consult with, like love this part of the conversation. They like think it's like the best.
Permission,
And
right?
so fun. And I'm like, oh, so you like didn't know we were going to be talking about like the perfect quality of poop. Right. And so I think that the timing is part of what makes my program unique, but there are a couple of other elements as well.
Mhm.
Um,
I,
yeah.
I know that you are a proponent of waist down, naked.
Yeah.
Tell me about that, because I actually used that with my son. And it's funny because he was 19 months old. I'm sure he was in window 1.
Yeah.
And he was naked, and he would he peed once on himself,
Leg, right?
on his leg, and he was like, whoa, what's going on there? And then, and then I bought him a potty seat. And these are sort of unrelated stories, but I went to Target and I picked the Elmo potty seat.
Yeah.
He loved Elmo, and I put it on the kitchen floor to show him because I had just come back from Target, and this was pre-COVID, obviously. And I put it on the floor and I said, look, this is your potty seat. You are going to sit here when you poop in the potty, or when you poop, I think I probably said, because I turned around 5 minutes later and he was pooping on the kitchen floor.
Right. So much for that. So I am a proponent of the naked from the waist down, although I caution families to not like begin that at age 2, because kids don't have the ability to alert to it in the same kind of way.
Yeah.
So on that potty weekend, I am a pantless and then accumulating skills over the 3-day period.
To get
however,
until
they're dressed, until they are at least wearing underwear on day 3. Right. However, post day 3, even though they return to school or wherever they're going, they do wear underwear during that period, but then they are time trained for a week or 2. So it's the adult's responsibility to say, you're wearing underwear. It's been an hour. Go give a try, go give a try, go do this, give it a try. And then when they're back home, they're pantless again with no special anything, just so that they can generalize and become successful with the skill.
Tell me why you say go try instead of go pee or go to the bathroom.
Right. So that would be after the 3 days comes the, we just got home from school, go do a pee run. And in general, I don't do try over the 3-day weekend and the beginning of the 3-day weekend is connected with a 1-hour timer.
So I'm sorry, I tripped you up a little bit there, because I actually picked up on the fact that you were saying you need to go and try, like on the timer system, right? You need to go and try. Nothing might come out.
Right.
And that's not something I, the adult, am in control of.
Well, that's right. And that's the handing over control thing that we do when kids are ready. And so, at 2, they aren't ready to alert to their bodies in that way at early 2, but at late 2 and early 3, they are. And so, that whole idea of this really is about, what's the difference between a director and a cheerleader? So, kids need a director at age 2. They need a cheerleader at age 3. And it's really much more pleasant to be a cheerleader than a director. You know, a director's job is sort of a pain in the drain, but a cheerleader, you know, has lots of opportunity and assumes that a skill that the kiddo is ready to be successful. And at 2, we don't really know that. I was thinking about what you also said about the on the floor potty. And one of the mistakes I think that families do make is that they assume that the insert and a step stool is okay for teaching this skill. But my preference is that they, in fact, that families do use the on the floor potty for like 2 weeks when they are doing the skill. Great question. So they, because it helps them to get into the correct position. And the best way, and the best thing that I can add it, and it allows alerting of those lower pelvic muscles in a way that sitting on the toilet with their legs dangling doesn't do. So if you like think about an L position on a regular toilet with their legs dangling and their back is straight, if you envision that or even do it while I'm speaking, you'll notice that it activates all the incorrect muscles. Conversely, when their feet are on the floor, elbows are on their knees, and they're in that like C position or mountain position, it activates exactly the correct muscles. And being a speech pathologist, you'll appreciate this, that along with that, when we're practicing, we do blowing exercises. And the value of the blowing exercises
there we go.
And those correct, and you know, so like when they do, you hold a bubble wand in front of them and say, okay, kiddo, blow the biggest bubble you can. Then they do a big blow and you say, so great. That's how your friends at school push out poop and pee. And that was a great bubble, you know, and you just sort of run through the, you know, a kazoo and a party blower, and you do, and one of the pinwheel windmills. And by the way, from a speech pathologist perspective, I always ask families, do you feel him blowing from his chest or from his belly? And if he's blowing from the chest, it's possible that he's not yet alerting to those lower pelvic muscles.
That's interesting, right? Yeah. Peeing standing up or sitting down for boys?
Oh, yes. I love peeing standing up, right. So my rule about peeing standing up is that you never teach a little boy to pee standing up until he has pooped sitting down 10 times. And the reason why is because when they learn to pee standing up, they never learn to poop sitting down. And so we just don't teach the pee stand up position until they have been successful with pooping. I make a lot of money out of kids, off of, you know, parents who not so much money, but a little money off of parents who, you know, have done the, you know, well, he stands up and pees like a champ. And I'm like, right, but he can't sit down and poop. So, and then we have to retrain those little boys to pee, to poop sitting down, and that's complicated. So some of the literature suggests that we separate out pee and poop skills. And I think that's a pretty big catastrophe, because if we, you know, think about what's the potty equation, it's A plus B equals C. A doesn't equal C. B does not equal C. A plus B equals C. And so we don't want to separate them out. And so I also make families, I know, right. And I also make families, I'm going to have you do this too. I make them take the ready, set, go potty oath, which goes like this. You put up your right hand. I swear.
I swear.
Repeat after me. I swear.
I swear.
When my child asks for a diaper.
When my child asks for a diaper.
When my child. For poop.
For poop. Yeah.
I will say.
I will say. No.
No. So I could tell you tell you a million stories of you know, families who say, oh yeah, she's a great peer, but she just poops in her diaper and we need some help with that. I'm like, yeah, right. And so when families think, I'll just give her a diaper for poop, you're sunk. That's it. You'll have to redo the whole potty weekend. So, but you choose. It's okay. You choose.
Well, and that's the other thing, right? It's like, it's okay. Just understand what's on the other side of that choice, right? And if the right choice for you is in that moment, you know, you can't hold the boundary. You can't say no for whatever reason. Dad's traveling, you're sick,
Yes,
brother is crying, whatever, it's fine. But understand
it
what
is fine.
the ramifications are, right?
That's right. That's right.
And that's okay. It's not, no small children will be harmed.
Sometimes when I get 4 and 5-year-olds who are, you know, still pooping in the diaper, one of the first things I'll do is I will ask parents to apologize to the kid and to say, because then you have a little bit of opportunity for that window of opportunity for magical thinking that kids may have. You know, I say, so apologize and say, we are so sorry. We really did this wrong by letting you do this. We messed up. Oh, well, but now we're ready to fix it.
Yeah. And getting that collaboration, getting that like, okay, let's do this. I can help you, mom and dad.
That's right.
For some 4-year-olds, that's really motivating.
It is. Yeah. The other piece that's really important here is that, you know, when kids are really belligerent and stuck on, I'm not doing that, I'm not doing that, that I really help parents think about whether this is a can't or a won't. And if it is an emotional won't, we have to think about, is the feeling too big or is the missing skill too big? Like what's driving the won't?
Wow. Oh, so you have to say that again.
Right. So what's driving the won't? Is it a big feeling or is it a missing skill? And of course, I'm always drawn to those who are having a big feeling. And then we are working on the idea of, this is scary. You're right. It's something new. New things are scary. But remember, you can't be brave unless you're scared. And so let's help you to, let's talk about the feelings of it. And it's okay. It's okay. And the more you do it, the easier it will be. And the more you practice, the less that feeling will be so big. So
and that
doing
goes into our whole next conversation, which is all the stuff that then is coming up for the parent. But we cannot do that today. We're going to do that today.
That's right. That's great.
That's great. Sally, thank you so much for coming. This was amazing.
And thank you for having me. I'll look forward to the next time.
Okay. Bye-bye.